Let's compare Haaland and Mbappe to Messi and Ronaldo. At 20 years of age, Ronaldo had 9 goals and 9 assists. Messi had 16 goals and 16 assists. 2 years ago at 20, Mbappe had 39 goals and 17 assists. And Haaland is 20. He has 33 goals and 7 assists. And some on social media are saying that they're going to end up better than Messi and Ronaldo. Majid, do you think that's fair?
It's impressive. I don't know if it's particularly fair. Context matters. I don't think you can just dismiss legends of our generation that easily or that quickly. I mean, statistics only go so far. But I do think it's natural. I think it happens in every sport. The new generation thinks they're far better, far superior than the older generation, even one generation before them.
Do you remember what happened in tennis? Like Sampras won 14 Grand Slams. Did you ever think that his record would be broken by not one, but three players? Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer. Even Schumacher in the F1, like his records have tumbled as well. So I think that matters. And I think that also speaks about those three players that we just mentioned in tennis, longevity. That's something that
Yes.
matters in football as well. Haaland and Mbappe are very, very young. Look at Michael Owen. In 2001, he won the Ballon d'Or. But what injuries ruined his career afterwards? No?
Yes, 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 yes. That's for sure. And that's where, I mean, Rio Ferdinand preferred Prime Owen over Prime Rooney. That's how good he was, or could have been, right?
Yeah.
Just before the injuries. And then the injuries happened a 5 year. Owen Hargreaves, another great example. Who knows what he could have done for United? Injuries robbed him. So we don't know the future. And God forbid anything happens to either Haaland or Mbappe, but we don't know the future. You can't dismiss 15 years of worth of career to 2 years of what can be.
Absolutely. And I think another thing as well is the context of their careers. Now, you look at Haaland and Mbappe, they're kind of the main players in PSG and in Dortmund. But when Messi started off, he was on the bench for, guess who? Ronaldinho. Which is very, like, he learned from a master. It surpassed him, but he learned from a master. Then look at Ronaldo. He played in the very attacking Manchester United. But then he played for Jose Mourinho as well. And that's a very defensive team, no? Like, and he was still scoring like 60 goals, a huge amount of goals. So I think that matters quite a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with Messi, he played under Ronaldinho, and then he also had to share the honors with Xavi, Iniesta, Henri, Eto'o, Ibrahimovic. There's a whole bunch of other players who sort of eat his statistics, right? So like, you can't just put everything on statistics or whatever. I mean, as long as the team is doing well. I mean, I think Mbappe would take a Champions League over individual honors any day. I also do think with Ronaldo, you mentioned, when you move from team to team, there is some time to adapt and adopt, right?
Mm.
Adapt to your home country or your new country, the environment, the stadium, your teammates. That all takes a little bit of time. But when you do get it right, and Ronaldo's proven to be dominant in whatever league he goes to, it's that much more impressive. And I don't know how you can just wipe that away because of the new flavor of the months.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Haaland went from Norway to Germany, and he's conquered Germany. He's not won the Bundesliga, but he's arguably their best player. Probably Lewandowski can also hold that. But Mbappe has only played in France. You've got to see what his career will actually bring. I don't care about that Farmers League. No, he's just played in France, and he's played well. He's done well in the Champions League, but the game
Well,
is.
that's the other thing. He's played in France.
Hmm.
He's played in France, but throughout the footballing world that Haaland and Mbappe have played in, the conditions they played in, the FA, the FIFA, the UEFA, the regional organization, football organization, they have molded the game towards high scoring, attacking only sort of thing, right? They've evolved the game where yellow cards, red cards, they're more or less used compared to the old days. And you won't have sort of that tough guy or enforcer role is sort of been thrown out the window. So the game is very different. Even tactically, it's a little bit different where you now try and fit a system as opposed to the system fitting you.
Yeah, Roy Keane is probably the best example. Do you think he was a defensive midfielder or do you think he was a midfielder? Because when you actually look at it,
Box to box.
yeah, he was a box-to-box player. He wasn't a defensive midfielder. He did everything his role required. Whereas you look at Mbappe, he's a forward. He can play as a winger, he can play as a striker. Haaland is exactly a striker. Ronaldo, just look at Ronaldo. He started off as winger, right winger, left winger, striker. So the game has changed way too much to, like, you can talk about them being good in their current generation, but their careers haven't really taken off yet. They've done well so far.
Well, I think another major factor in determining all of this is us, unfortunately, the fans, you, me, everybody, and the way we sort of try and distill this very layered, very textured conversation into a quick one sentence or a quick one line or one word. Mbappe, Haaland, Messi, Ronaldo. Like, why can we not accept everyone or each one, admire their gifts and ignore their not great things about them, right? Just enjoy it while it's happening and be amazed and thingy. And I think I mention us, the fans, because if we start discussing it, the ownership and the marketing departments for these football teams will follow suit. They will not do it first and then we follow. We have to set the agenda. We have to tell them this is important to us. We do want to see Claude Makelele on Chelsea's opening day, even though he might not be the most famous or the most, he was a very loyal servant to the club and he brought many successes. What do you think of that?
Look, it's interesting you said that, right? Like, do you remember Ronaldo Nazario? The original
the
R9.
classic.
Like, that guy, at 18 years old, he was scoring 50 goals for Barcelona. And he was Nike's flavor of the month. Everyone in the world loved him. They thought he was going to be the greatest player that ever lived. And he was living up to that potential. Then the World Cup happened in 98, and then he had two very bad knee injuries. And by the way, that second one was horrific. His kneecap, 6 minutes into his comeback, exploded and ended up in his right thigh. It was so bad. Like, they didn't think that he would ever play again. But he came back, and 7 months after his comeback, he helped Brazil win the World Cup in 2002. People forget what a phenomenal player he was. Probably one of the purest forwards I've ever seen, the most talented forwards I've ever seen. And there are people on social media who said that he didn't take care of himself, that the injuries were his fault. Like, dude, if your kneecap explodes, it ends up in your thigh. Like, the fact that you came back then, in the late 90s, early 2000s, when knee injuries would probably mean the end of your career, that is impressive in itself. Like, it was only until like 5 years ago.
Before sports science, before analytics, before all of this fancy schmancy stuff, just old school rehabbing.
Don't you think that matters? It has evolved the sport a lot.
It matters, bro. Context matters. The history matters. To remember it, to keep it alive is our service. We have to do this job. We have to continually contextualize the game. We have to look back at it. And we have to be very fond of it. All the characters, good, bad, the ones who score, the ones who pass, the ones who do nothing. If you look at it, Sergio Ramos, for example, is a defender. He's not going to score many goals. But the ones he does score really matter, right? It's not enough to just go statistics, goals, assists. That doesn't tell the full story. Sometimes players go through injuries, traumatic events, and they still manage to perform or even just get up to that level. It's very important to note. It's very important to be vigilant in social media comments, to be respectful, and to know the full story.